I'm Brad Patton. Today we welcome Living Dead Girl frontwoman Molly Rennick to the podcast. The new Living Dead Girl record, Conspiracy, is out this Friday. Molly talks about the musical impact Avril Lavigne had on her, getting pigeonholed as a vocalist, the decision to move from Canada to Florida, the intentionality behind the artwork for Conspiracy, and a lot more. I was a big fan of Exorcism, and I think Living Dead Girl really stepped things up a notch with Conspiracy, so make sure you give the album a spin on Friday. Thanks much for listening to this episode of As the Story Grows. If this is your first time checking the podcast out, welcome. Thanks for listening. You can find links in our show notes or at asthestorygrows.com for our mailing list, our Discord community, and our Patreon page, where $1 a month gets you early access to every episode. And if you aren't subscribed to the podcast, whether a new listener or a longtime listener, I would love it if you subscribed on your podcast platform of choice. Likes, comments, sharing episodes are all things that help the podcast out, and I would appreciate it. Enjoy today's conversation with Molly Rennick from Living Dead Girl.
Against me, play the victim. You win. Feel like the battle has commenced. You will pay for your. I'm currently up in Canada, but if anyone asks me to say I'm down in Florida,
Okay.
Cooler.
Presently, it is probably not cooler to be in Florida than it is Canada. So.
No, it is though. We got Disney World and sunshine.
I love Disney. I do. But yeah, I mean, Florida. I've
lived there for 4 years and I love it.
Okay.
I just came back to Canada to get my work visa renewed, and then we're back to Florida.
Gotcha. You grew up in Canada?
Yes.
What part of Canada?
A small town in Ontario. So for the sake of people who wouldn't know what that town is called, I just say Toronto.
Okay. That
makes it easy for everyone.
Yeah. I'm from just outside DC, but it's like Washington DC is easy enough to like pinpoint.
Yes.
Yeah. What was growing up like for you?
I don't know. It was very boring. I feel like in a small town, you are bored. So that's kind of what turned me to music in the first place, I guess, is it gave me something to do.
Yeah. Was it like playing music or, I don't know, the radio, or what was your like musical connection early on?
I used to like, you know how little kids will like play house or play school or like whatever, like fantasy scenarios. I always played concert. And I would like set up my stuffed animals in my room and pretend they were the audience. And I had like a little disco ball and little lights, and a little karaoke machine. And I would just like wail for hours, just singing all day long.
Nice. My kids did that the other day. They set up all their stuffies and then just like sat at the turntable putting on records and singing to them.
That's how it starts. They're going to be musicians.
I mean, maybe. What was the early music that resonated with you?
The first love in music I really had was Avril Lavigne. I really connected with her because she was from a small town in Canada too. Yeah. You know, obviously she was like a teenage girl. So right off the bat, I had so much like in common with her. So seeing like, you know, the Skater Boy music video where she's smashing a guitar and singing more rock songs. I mean, still pop music, but more on the rock side of pop. Instead of just like, you know, Britney and Christina stuff who were dancing and singing. Like that was my first introduction to like a female playing guitar and singing.
Yeah.
Because I already knew about rock music, so my family listened to rock music, but all the rock music I had heard was male-fronted. So Avril was my introduction to a girl who could sing rock music, and that just really, like, struck a chord with me.
Yeah, that makes sense. At what point, like, what was the local music scene like? Were you close enough to Toronto where you were going in, or was it just, like, a struggle once you decided to, like, try to pursue music?
I would drive to Toronto for concerts a lot, but a lot of bands also don't even come to Canada because, you know, traveling across the border with all your merch and gear. I honestly get it now. I understand the logistics of it. I get why they skip it.
Yeah.
But so I would drive to the States for concerts a lot too. Like my family would take me as like, we've been to like New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, all over the place just to go to concerts. Like that was like our thing, was road trips for concerts. But then when I started playing music, I kind of didn't do much until I moved to the States because Canada is a really hard place to tour. Everything is so spaced out. It's really far drives. And there's also just significantly less people. So like you have a much larger population in the US. So we didn't really start seeing any like touring opportunities really until we got that US work visa and relocated. And before my first tour ever, the Exorcism tour back in 2022, before that first tour, I had only played 8 shows in my entire life.
Oh, wow.
So I went on that first tour green as fuck, completely inexperienced.
Yeah. Real eye-opening experience.
It was like a harsh reality check.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like, I feel like at this point in the music industry, even though like touring, the first time you do it, it is so, I don't know, an out-of-body experience almost, or hard. Like, the reality that not everything is like Metallica and tour buses and stadiums, like,
oh my God,
you kind of know like it's going to be hard as hell, right?
Well, that's the thing is, like, our manager, Jeremy, was trying to, like, mentally prepare me for it. I remember having, like, a talk with him at his house where he was saying, like, sometimes you go days without showering, you scrounge up any money you have just to eat garbage food. And I remember him telling me, like, that I couldn't shower every day, and, like, my bottom lip started quivering. I almost started crying. I was like, wait, what do you mean you don't get to shower? And then he's like, well, you shower at truck stops. And I was just shocked. I was like, what do you mean you shower at a truck stop? What does that mean? Whereas like now that's just our reality and I'm used to it. But, you know, 3-4 years ago, the thought of that disgusted me.
Yeah. Let's talk about Living Dead Girl, and I guess what was the genesis for this project and kind of the musical evolution that made you start this band?
So I always gravitated towards rock and heavier music, but I feel like it took a while for me to find what my style of heavy music is. Because to just say metal is such a blanket term. Like, it's so broad and vague. Like, metal could be pretty much anything. So I feel like the first few, like, people that I was collaborating with, songwriting, like producers and whatnot, they just heard that I could scream and they wanted to roll with it, which, you know, I don't blame them. But so I kept being kind of pushed in the direction of like almost more black metal, like more extreme metal. And I was doing that when I was like 17, 18 years old. I was just trying to put something together and trying to write with whoever was available to write with me and recording some demos that never saw the light of day. And honestly, I felt so unfulfilled doing that. Like, I was like, yeah, I can scream and I love screaming and my scream's really good. But like we would play a couple shows like with those songs and I just wasn't vibing with it. Like I didn't even know how to move. Like the songs were so fast and so heavy. I was like, I can't even headbang this fast. I don't know what to do here. Yeah. So I feel like once I really like realized that I wanted to make metal that's like infused with pop, that was like the eye-opening thing for me. Because, you know, when you're like a teenage metalhead and you're angsty and people say the word pop, you think it's a bad word. Like you think, oh no, I don't like pop music. And then I did a little self-reflecting. I'm like, girl, you grew up listening to Avril Lavigne. You do like pop music. Like, let's be real. So I feel like once I kind of had that aha moment of I want catchy, radio-friendly, upbeat, like sing-along choruses, but still have those screams, those down-tuned riffs, those breakdowns. And I wanted to do both at the exact same time. Then by the time I went to record Exorcism with the producer we worked with, Mitchell Marlowe, once I figured it out, it just became so easy. Like we were writing songs in like one day. Like I found the thing.
Yeah. I definitely, when I was younger, felt that like no clean singing in metal. And it's like, I just wanted the harsh vocals. But like now in my 40s, I'm like, I like a good catchy chorus. I like a hook. Like something to sing to is so important in music.
Yeah, exactly. I love a vocalist who can do both. Like, any kind of like modern metal band, you know, like Falling in Reverse, Motionless in White, anyone like that who has like those screaming verses and then the singing choruses, like that is perfection to me. I don't like just one or the other. I want both. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you listen to Killswitch Engage, right? Like you want Howard to get to the hook to like sing the song, right?
Yeah.
That's what catches your attention. What was the inspiration for the band name?
Honestly, I did not rip it off of Rob Zombie intentionally. I will straight up say that. Not intentionally. So I had like a little personal story behind it. My parents told me that when I was born, the doctor thought I was dead. Because I guess babies are supposed to come out like crying or screaming or something. And I was just dead silent and my skin was like purple. So my mom said like she was panicking and the doctor was like slapping my face. And then for like a couple minutes, I just wasn't breathing or doing anything. And then I was alive. So my mom told me that, and she's like, you just were born dead. And I thought that was so cool. I was like, oh my God, living dead girl, that's me. And I just rolled with it. I was like 15 years old when I came up with that. Nice. And I didn't ever think it was going to like be an issue with the Rob Zombie thing. Obviously, I did some research and I made sure like I trademarked it, and I made sure that it was a separate category, like band name and song name. So I can never get sued or anything.
Yeah. When you decided to relocate stateside for touring and working down here, what made you choose Florida and Orlando?
I was originally dead set on Nashville because I just thought, music, I'm going to go to Nashville. But I had only been to Nashville twice, and I am not going to talk shit about Nashville. I do love Nashville. It's a really fun city to visit. I love going there to record. Like, that's where we've been recording our last couple albums. I love visiting it. But when I was picturing living there and, like, what would that look like? What would my day-to-day look like? I just wasn't feeling it. And honestly, like, we could have lived in any state. Like, once you got the work visa and you're cleared to go, it's like we could just pick a spot. And I was like, honestly, growing up in Canada, hating winter, I'm scared of driving in the snow. I wanted, and also just like moving to a different country in general, I wanted like a culture shock. I wanted complete opposite. And I was like, I love Disney World. I love the beach. I would take humid, sticky heat and rain any day of the week. Like, I would way rather be sweaty than be cold. And people are like, yeah, but what about hurricanes? I'm like, we live in Central Florida, so like we're unaffected here. Yeah. So I just feel like Florida just made sense. I just took a leap of faith, took a risk, and moved here just to see if I liked it. And now I'm like, I could live here till the day I die. I love it so much.
That's cool. That's cool. I love Disney World, but anytime I go there in the summer, it is like the most miserable experience because the heat, I cannot.
It's absolutely excruciating. I will agree with you there. I feel like, though, you just kind of get used to it. Like, you wear the lightest clothing possible. You wear light colors. I put my hair up in a ponytail. I drink an unhealthy amount of water probably. But I'm like, I used to live somewhere where the air hurt my face. So, like, I will take it. I also find, this is a fun fact, too. I find the humidity is really good for your voice.
Okay.
Because the first tour we did where we went over to Texas, it was so dry. And we went to Arizona and there was like a sandstorm or like a dust storm, whatever they call that. Geez. And within 2 days, I completely lost my voice, whereas I've never had a problem with losing my voice before. But then in Florida, like, I feel like the warm, humid weather just like keeps your voice so relaxed. Like, it feels really nice singing here.
I want to talk about this new record, Conspiracy. Listening to Conspiracy, kind of comparing it to Exorcism, it seems like you went for a heavier sound, whether intentionally or that's just kind of how it came out. What was the writing process like for this new record?
I feel like some of it was unintentional because things just naturally happen when you're creating something. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily think, oh, I'm going to make it sound more like this band, or I'm going to change my vocal style. It's like, yeah, obviously my voice changed a little bit in 4 years or whatever. So it's not even necessarily like entirely a conscious decision when things happen. So I'm glad you even mentioned that yourself. But I definitely did feel like I wanted to make a bit more of like a serious, darker album. Mm-hmm. I know I really say that Living Dead Girl is like a fun, upbeat band and we focus on that. And I wouldn't say that that is lost in Conspiracy. You still have really catchy choruses. There's a couple songs that are very pop driven, but there's also songs on here that are like the heaviest songs we've ever done. And we kind of experimented with that a little bit. I just feel like as like the sophomore album, it just like made sense to do. I was like, I'm older now, I'm wiser, I've got more shit to talk about in my lyric writing. I was like, let's just go fully dark.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the lyrical process. What was kind of inspiring you, or were you pulling from when you were writing?
I was kind of writing a lot about like my outlook on the world and like my experience, like of things I've like witnessed and seen and experienced. Less so more like Exorcism was kind of more like a person did this to me and this is how I feel about it. Whereas Conspiracy was more like, this is what's going on in the world and this is how I see it. So I feel like it's a bit, I don't want to say like less personal, but maybe just like a broader perspective on things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to, you turn on the news and like, there's so much to just like grab from and like be angry about or comment on.
Yeah. And I feel like especially that comes with age too, is you start noticing things you didn't notice when you were younger. You start seeing things differently. And it's like, you know, once you start understanding more things, it's like, is that really a good thing? Because I was kind of having more fun with my ignorance is bliss.
Right. Yeah. What led to Conspiracy as the title for this record? And does that kind of cover, I don't know, a broad baseline for the overarching ideas?
So I was pretty much like taking conspiracy as like a very literal word. Like, to conspire is like to secretly make an evil plan, like people plotting to do something bad. And I feel like that's just like a very, you know, like general way to sum up the themes on this album, like seeing what's like going on and stuff and like really digging into it and like, you know, like to be kind of like a conspiracy theorist, like to look at things and question it and wonder what's actually going on. I just felt like it was a really cool topic. And once I like came up with that word, I just kind of kept snowballing with it. Like when we put the album cover together, I was like, let's put aliens in it. So there's lots of little aliens hidden throughout it. There's, you know, like all kinds of little conspiracy theories hidden throughout the album artwork. And it just kind of became like this cool little like realm that I opened up creatively once I had the idea.
Yeah, the album artwork is what I was going to ask next because, yeah, there's so much. The more you look at it, the more you notice. I feel it's like a rocket launcher in the background and the plane, and you know, I think there's like masks and needles. Like, who came up with this idea? Was this a collaborative thing with you and an artist, or?
So it was entirely my idea, and I got the idea very randomly. I was like on a cargo plane with my husband going up to the Arctic for an art project we were doing, and I was trying to distract myself because being on a cargo plane was terrifying me. So I was like, I'm just gonna think about something really creative and just like distract my brain for a little bit. And I just zoned out thinking like, okay, I want to have like eyeballs on my hands because that's like a symbol of warding off evil and protecting yourself from evil. So I was like, I want there to be so much shit going on around me, like this post-apocalyptic world, and I'm not letting the evil get to me. I'm standing in the middle. I've got this like headpiece thing on, kind of like a goddess image, and I've got the eyeballs on the hands, and I'm like trying to keep all the evil away from me. And then I just kind of like snowballed. Like as we were creating it in Photoshop with my husband and I was just like sitting there going, add this, put some of this in there. And then like, let's have money flying everywhere because money is kind of the root of all evil. Like that's what makes people greedy and shitty is money. So I'm like, we got to have money in there. And we just kind of kept adding to it until finally we reached a point where I was like, I don't think we can add anymore. It's going to get too busy. But I love how small the details are because once we see it printed on the vinyl, I think it's going to look really beautiful.
Yeah. It's one of those pieces of art that like looks cool, but like the more you stare at it, the more there's like reveals about it and there is to like, oh, what's that? So
exactly. Cool. I wanted something that you could like look at a couple times and be like, oh, I didn't notice that before.
Yeah.
It's like, where's Waldo?
I wanted to ask about the song Ugly, which I'm sure has bigger context as just being a woman in the world. But have you found this struggle in kind of the music industry as a female, as, you know, an attractive female, like getting people to take your art seriously?
Absolutely. And it is such a fine line because, you know, I'll dress in a provocative way, which honestly, intentionally, a lot of the times, it's just like I'm on stage, I'm sweating my ass off. We're playing in venues that don't even have air conditioning half the time. We don't have the luxury of these giant air conditioning units on stage like a stadium band does. So half the time, it's not even like I want to be half naked. It's like, what can I wear without fainting? Because I've tried wearing leather pants, I've tried wearing leather jackets, and I'm always like ready to faint by the end of the show. So it's very much like I need tank tops and skirts and little shorts and stuff because, you know, if I overheat, I'm not trying to faint and fall off the stage.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a mixture of things. It's like comfort, being able to move, not being too constricted with heavy clothing, but then also looking attractive because what gets people's attention? Oh, that looks good. But then it's such a fine line because once you do that, you know, you're opening yourself up to a lot of criticism and people being like, oh, you're just trying to get people to look at you. And it's like, well, yeah, I'm a performer. I want you to look at me because I want you to see that my band exists and watch our show. God forbid a performer wants you to look at them. But then at the same time, you'll also get people being like, oh, this band sucks, and because she dresses like that. And it's like, you know what? I have an impressive scream, and the scream would still sound like this if I wore a turtleneck and khakis. I just chose to wear this. So it's a very fine line because you are opening yourself up to criticism. But at the same time, I feel like, especially as a woman, but even just as an artist as a whole, you're going to get criticized regardless.
Yeah.
Like, I could go on stage in a turtleneck and khakis. And do you think people would have shit to say about that? Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, if I went dressed completely conservative on stage, I'm sure people would have a lot of things to say about that as well. So it's like, I might as well be comfortable. I might as well be confident. I might as well look good while doing it, because people are going to talk smack no matter what.
Yeah. It's like a great time in the heavy music scene, and maybe music in general, but specifically in metal, where there's more visibility for female artists and female, front people in bands. But like, how often people are like, they're a fucking industry plant. It's like, guys, like, stop being keepy pieces of shit, right?
Yeah, it's like, not every woman had to do something bad to get to where they are. You could just accept the fact that a lot of them are hardworking, talented, and deserving.
Yeah. Album is out October 10th. You have a handful of shows currently listed. Is it just a matter of like, you had to wait for work visas to be renewed before you could book a tour, or what's the plan for the rest of this year looking forward?
So for the rest of this year, we are kind of playing a little bit less shows than usual, I will admit. We do have the album release party in Orlando, October 10th, which I'm extremely excited about, because with Exorcism, it came out during like the lockdowns and everything. So I had like a party at my house, but I never got to do like a show for it. So I feel like for album number 2, I just want to have like this big blowout party and really celebrate, all the hard work for the last like 3 years that went into this album. So we've got that one big show to really focus on, but we kind of don't have as much like touring for the rest of this year, just because I really want to be able to focus financially and, mentally on the release of the album. We have to put a lot of consideration into, radio and press and marketing and everything. And I don't want touring to take away from that, because when you're an independent band and you're funding everything yourself, you only have the resources you have, so it's like, I can either spend 10 grand on marketing or 10 grand driving across the country. I think marketing's the move right now.
Yeah. One of the things that's been most surprising to me over the last, 2-3 years of doing this podcast is kind of bands and labels still focus on radio. I mean, outside of like Octane and Sirius, which I know is huge for a lot of people, what's the radio landscape like?
It's actually surprisingly much better than you would think. Like, I know people kind of look at radio as if it's like this dead form of media that people don't use, but I've honestly found a great majority of our fans have come from radio, because we'll be at a show at our merch table talking to people after, and we like to ask, how did you hear about us, or what brought you here today? We just kind of, we're taking in some feedback to analyze later. And we've had so many people say, I heard you on the radio, because we find like, like a lot of different work fields listen to the radio. Like, we'll have like a whole group of guys at a show who said, we're construction workers or we're roofers, and we listen to the radio all day while we're at work. Or we have people who say, I work in an office and I'm allowed to listen to my radio at my desk. So I feel like the radio is still really a great place that people discover music from. Yeah. And we've seen a great retention. Like, my personal observation is more people at our shows found us on the radio or YouTube. And those two things seem to go hand in hand. They hear it on the radio, then they look up the music video, then Spotify or TikTok. Okay. We have some people at shows who say they found us from TikTok, but generally I find like that's a younger crowd. Maybe they're like not going out to shows or something. But something about radio just really brings in diehard music fans.